Hello everybody, my name is Bree and I am chatting to you from Brisbane, Australia. So this is actually my first reading of Only the Brave. So in this episode I'll be adding just some thoughts and commentary as I go. But if you want to listen to the chapter on its own, I will be re-recording each one without any commentary and just straight up reading. So head on over to the next episode if you want to hear that. Thanks for dropping in. And now, Only the Brave by Solmussa. That's how I'm going to pronounce it for this. I apologize. Chapter 1. The Beginning. The day Sirius Black ran away from their family was the day his younger brother, Regulus, learned what true hatred felt like. It was ice cold and overwhelming, spreading over every inch of who he was, coating everything he'd be from that day on. It consumed him, clawing at his heart and squeezing until it stopped beating, a dead, frozen thing in a cage of bones. I really like the writing of this so far. I like the metaphors and I really like how they're describing him as well. The day Sirius Black ran away from him, Regulus swore to himself he'd get revenge, whatever it took. He would go to any lengths necessary. No line was too holy, no limit too hard. He'd blast through them all if it got him what he wanted. Vengeance. "You're not listening, are you?" Dorcas says, visibly annoyed. She waves a perfectly manicured hand in front of him. Regulus pulls himself out of his own head and scowls at his friend. The compartment is too crowded for his liking, but there's little he can do about it. These people refuse to leave him alone even for a minute. It's what friends do, they tell him. Yeah, well, when he wants to be alone with his demons, what it is annoying. Just the idea of, I haven't really read too much Dorcas in Slytherin before. She's always kind of like a side character with Marlene, so I think it's going to be fun reading her. No, he says, because he doesn't like lying. Evan chuckles, shaking his head. Barty smirks at Dorcas. Told you. Dorcas rolls her eyes dramatically. I was asking if you don't have prefect patrols to do, now that you're an authority figure. This makes Regulus groan, because Dorcas is right. He had forgotten. He didn't want to be a prefect, but it turns out you can't simply return the badge in the post. I like that line because it makes me think of Regulus trying to actually send his prefect badge via Al back to Hogwarts and just being like, no, absolutely not, I'm not doing this. And then just Dumbledore sending it back. Being like, nah, sorry mate. You don't have a choice. You have to be in charge. It can't be that bad, Barty says when he gets a glimpse of Regulus's face. You get to knock points off of people at your leisure. Evan nods enthusiastically. Dorcas shrugs, leaning back and closing her eyes. Now that she's done her duty and reminded Regulus of his misery, she'll sleep for the rest of the journey. Regulus stands, adjusts his robes, his green tie. Not on the train. How long's the patrol take? Evan asks casually. Regulus could point out to him that attempting subterfuge was futile. Everyone in this carriage knows how he feels about Barty, except for Barty himself. But Regulus doesn't, because someone in this dysfunctional friend group should get to be a normal teenager. He decided it'll be Evan, and so he keeps his answer inane. I'll be back before we reach Hogsmeade. See if you can find Pandora in the meantime. With that, he leaves the compartment. A few students hurry past him, close enough that his robes rustle. He does his best not to flinch. The prefect meeting is already underway when he arrives. Everyone turns to stare at him, and Regulus endures it like he does everything else. Stoically, quietly. His stomach is churning something fierce, but his face is made of stone. "There you are, Black," the head boy, some 7th-year Hufflepuff, says. "Punctuality is important. See that you don't show up late for patrols again." Severus's dark eyes find his. Regulus holds his stare, even as he gives the head boy a curt nod of acknowledgement. The Hufflepuff doesn't push, going back to assigning sections of the train to people in pairs. I feel like I already know where this is going. He's going to be paired with a Gryffindor, for sure. One of the Gryffindors. Regulus' fingers twitch inside his robes as he waits, silently willing the boy to not pair him with Severus. He never liked the hypocrite. In Regulus's opinion, no one can either pontificate about blood purity or embarrass oneself over their crush on a Muggleborn. Not both. "Remus Lupin," the head boy calls. This gets Regulus's attention, because Lupin is one of Sirius's friends. The boy looks tired, and a bit skinny, like he didn't eat enough this summer, or he just got tall too quickly, and the rest of his body hasn't caught up yet. Maybe both. And Regulus Black. "You've got the carriages at the front." I was right. I hope that this fic might look into a Lupin and Regulus friendship a little bit, because nothing makes me happier than seeing anything like that on TikTok or in fanfic, so I'm excited for that. Lupin shuffles over to stand near Regulus while they wait to be dismissed for their rounds. Regulus wonders how much Lupin knows. He wonders if Sirius has scars from what happened to him the night he left. Regulus isn't sure whether he wants his brother to carry the evidence of such horrible betrayal on his body or not. Scars are good reminders, and it wouldn't hurt for Sirius to have a reminder never to breathe in the direction of another Black again. But also, well, Regulus knows what it's like to wish the scars weren't there, to hate looking at himself in a mirror. This line of thought makes him want to break something, so he pushes it away forcefully. They are dismissed, and kind of suddenly, Regulus finds himself walking next to Lupin towards the front of the train. They patrol in silence, which Regulus doesn't mind at all. Lupin doesn't seem to be bothered either, and that is enough for Regulus to be curious. Most teenagers, he knows, his friends included, find silence awkward. They try to fill it with whatever they can think of, no matter how innocuous or uninteresting. More often than not, it leads to random dumb debates, like who would win in a fight between a hippogriff and a basilisk. Regulus finds these exhausting. Lupin, however, isn't even fidgeting. He's 100% not bothered. "Where do you want to start?" Lupin asks him, when they reach their section, glancing at him before refocusing on his shoes. Regulus shrugs. "Don't care." Lupus hums, gestures with his head towards the far end of the carriage. "From the top, then." A lewd remark flits through his mind, but Regulus' face doesn't change. He simply nods once and takes off in the direction Lupin indicated. It's up to the other boy to follow. He does. Silence descends once again. My straight thought is just that Regulus is just that horny that when someone says "from the top," like a lot of people do, "from the top," all he can think about is either being a top or a bottom. And oh, poor Reggie. That's all I can say. Jesus. Once again, Regulus is impressed at how not awkward it is. They patrol the carriages side by side, observant eyes snagging on details that reveal more than the students they're watching would want either of them to know, or at least Regulus thinks so. He wouldn't want anyone to know things about him just by looking. It's why he's so careful to keep his face a blank mask at all times. Sometime later, Regulus is appalled to discover that he's enjoying himself. This quiet company thing that's going on between him and Lupin is, well, nice. At least until someone decides to start a fight in one of the compartments they're responsible for. Oh, for fuck's sake. I don't know why I made that so British and formal. I think my brain's trying to like connect with Emma Watson in the Harry Potter movies, and it's just making everything sound like Hermione, so I apologize. But also just Lupin swearing and being an all-out, I guess in Australia we'd say like bogan, just makes me giggle as well. Let's try that again. Oh, for fuck's sake, Lupin groans, eyeing the brawling kids with a suffering roll of his eyes. He then looks at Regulus, and he isn't sure what the other boy is expecting, but a blank stare isn't it, based on the annoyance that crosses his eyes. You're not going to help? He asks. Regulus blinks, then turns to the brawling kids. Regulus takes a single, measured step. You've got about 5 seconds to stop whatever this is before I hex your teeth to fall from your mouths. I feel like that sounded a bit like Severus, but I'm sure we'll find Reggie's voice soon. We're just not there yet. His voice is sharp. It cuts through the rage, fueling the boys like a scalpel. Something in his tone makes them pause, hesitate. They stop trying to punch each other for long enough to glance up at Regulus, who's taken his wand out and is holding it casually at his side. What he said, Lupin adds. What he said. Let's try that again. What he said, Lupin adds, and we're deducting 10 points from each of you. You can't actually hurt us, says the other. Ah, but losing the teeth won't hurt at all, Regulus replies, an edge to his voice that makes the kid literally shudder. You can't take off points before we reach school, the other complains, but they're both backing away. Neither of them is sure Regulus won't actually hex them, as is evident by the fearful glances they're throwing his wand every other second. Lupin shrugs. Says who? Regulus wants to smirk. Lupin has sass. Sometimes Lupin's sass reminds me of Harry's sass, but just a little bit more like bogan and raw, which I just love whenever he just has a go at someone in this like real sassy way. So I like that they're including a sassy Lupin in this one. Instead, Regulus stares them down in silence until they're sitting on opposite sides of the carriage, and peace has been restored. Lupin gives them a warning before they both retreat. Silence falls between them again. Like before, it's comfortable. Easy. Regulus can't remember the last time he was this unbothered around a stranger. Carefully, slowly, he glances sideways. Lupin's handsome, objectively. He's tall, too. Taller than Regulus, so he has to tilt his face up a little bit to get a better view. It's annoying to him that Sirius seems to only have good-looking friends. Like it's his personal fuck you to Regulus, being friends with attractive people he doesn't have a chance in hell of ever touching. Okay, so I think we can safely assume that Regulus already knows he's a little gay boy. Love that for him. But I wonder if we're going to have the usual plot of like some internalized homophobia or not, so that's going to be interesting. Not even by accident, because Regulus is too careful for that. Lupin blinks, and Regulus stares straight ahead so fast he almost gets whiplash. He won't be caught staring at this guy, over his dead body. He feels rather than sees Lupin's eyes on his profile. He wants to squirm under the scrutiny, but he doesn't allow himself to move, to react. You're quite terrifying, Lupin says. It strikes Regulus that he sounds impressed, which is odd. He wouldn't expect a Gryffindor to understand how it's useful to be scary, to be dangerous. You sound petrified. Lupin chuckles. I'm tougher than your average Hogwarts student, but those kids back there almost shat themselves, he swears. Remus Lupin swears a lot. Well, yes, I'm just thinking, I think if they're prefects, if Regulus is a prefect, he'd be in 5th year. And so Remus is in 6th year? Or is it 6 and 7 maybe? Either way, of course I swear, because I know around, grade 11 and 12, which is, I guess, the 2 last senior years in Australia, I sweared like an absolute sailor. So, but at the same time, I guess, thinking about Regulus's upbringing and stuff like that, maybe, he's not used to swearing, and so someone who swears a lot, he's not used to. Regulus looks at the other boy. He meets his gaze head on, green on brown. Wait, who has... Does Regulus have green eyes? I'm actually not sure. I've never actually thought about that. Okay. There's something akin to curiosity there. It makes Regulus shut down. A friend of his brother's cannot look at him twice, for any reason. He keeps walking without another word. Lupin doesn't push it, and Regulus hates him a little bit for it. It'd be easier if he'd been annoying about it. So, we've got a little break here. I'm really enjoying this so far. Just like straight into some Mooney and Reggie friendship is just wholesome. And it's got my attention. So, the day Sirius Black ran away from home, James Potter discovered he was capable of darkness. I am sorry, this was really quick. We're only one sentence into this next bit, but I am so happy that we have a James Potter POV, because if out of all the Marauders, James Potter is someone I really relate to the most, even though I'm not a single child, but still there's something about the positivity, and it's almost this naive positivity, but also just so loyal. Yeah, I'm really happy that I get to speak as some James Potter POV. The day Sirius Black ran away from home, James Potter discovered he was capable of darkness. It scared the living daylights out of him, because he'd always been nice, funny, easygoing and popular, and all the things James Potter should be. And yet, when Sirius, his literal soulmate, showed up on his doorstep on the brink of death, James had to actively choose to help him instead of going straight to Grimmauld Place and murdering everyone in sight. James has never felt anything like it again. He hopes he never does. It's not like him to be afraid of feelings. I will say though, that's one thing that I don't relate to with James is I find it very hard to deal with negative feelings. Well, maybe I do relate to it then. Anything like anger or sadness or anything like that, I find it really hard to connect to. I'd rather just, cover it up with jokes and be funny. So that line there I really like, because I understand the feeling of being afraid of negative feelings. He's a big boy with a big heart, and he's never been scared of showing it. It's just that he'd never had a negative emotion before or since, and, well, it threw him a little. He's good now, though. In fact, he's excellent, because the train is about to pull up to Hogsmeade, and his final year at Hogwarts is going to be one for the ages. Okay, so I think we've figured out now that they're in 7th year at Hoggies. I don't know why I called it Hoggies. I've never called it Hoggies. But just this line here talking about, it's going to be one for the ages, blah, blah, blah. And just knowing this is a jegulus fanfic, I feel like it's kind of a precursor for the entire fanfic. Like, oh, okay, sure, one for the ages. If there's jegulus involved, I'm sure, like, it will be one for the ages. They're going to make it memorable. They being himself and his 3 best friends. Sirius is lounging across from him, legs tangled with his. He's grown this summer, but he's still shorter than James and Remus. Peter is reading next to James, his nose so far in the book he could be snogging it. The door to the carriage opens, and Sirius's fingers twitch when Remus steps in. James tries to hide the small smile tugging at his lips. "How was patrol?" he asks, because Sirius needs a moment to compose himself when Remus enters a room he's in these days. James is nothing if not a loyal and supportive brother. So, anything interesting? Remus sits down, looks at Sirius. "I was paired with your brother," Sirius sits up straight so fast the couch could have bitten him. Reg, he's a prefect? Remus nods. Did he say anything to you? Sirius asks, a small muscle ticking on his jaw. Nope. He doesn't talk much, Remus says. Though when he does, he makes a face like he's impressed, and James swears to Merlin Sirius's eyes might pop out of their sockets any moment. He broke up a fight with a single sentence. Why do you sound impressed? Sirius inquires, leaning forward. Don't do that. Don't sound impressed. This is my brother. He's not impressive. He's a little shit who betrayed me. We don't like him. Remus nods along to all of this. I only said he was scary, not that I wanted to marry him. Sirius scoffs and flops back against his seat. Not funny, Mooney. Peter looks up from his book. It's a little funny. James clears his throat to gather the attention before this can escalate. The subject of Regulus is unsafe, even though it's been a year since he ran away from the despicable waste of air that is Wapolga and Orion Black. Sirius hasn't fully processed what his running away and Regulus's staying behind means for them. He's mourning his brother like he's dead, except he's alive and, well, and apparently terrifying. Speaking of things that are truly hilarious, James said, I hear Alice met Frank's mother this summer. They all launch into an enthusiastic discussion about the ways in which Frank's mother, there's someone terrifying for you, could have scared Alice away. The couple graduated last June and began their aura training at the ministry already this summer because tensions are rising and more auras are needed, but James is still in touch with Frank. As his friends discuss the many memorable occasions during which Augusta Longbottom made them want to crawl into a hole of dirt, James's mind drifts. He can't help it, because he's a curious person by nature. Last time he saw Regulus, on this very train, on the last day of their 6th year, and Regulus's 5th year, the boy was a whisper of a person. Skinny, on the shorter side, and pale like a wraith. There was absolutely nothing even remotely scary about him. At least, not to James, who's always been broad-shouldered and tall for his age. It's because he's curious about what Remus told them that when they get off the train and head to the carriages, James scans the crowd of students looking for the younger Black. Sirius is complaining about the rain, oblivious to James's research. Remus and Peter are a few steps ahead, merrily discussing the feast that awaits them in the castle. I haven't added a note in a little while, but I just want to say that one of my biggest wants and wishes is to get some Marauders or Harry Potter friends together and just cook up a massive feast and just kind of not role play but just enjoy what it might be like to have a Christmas feast like that. In Australia we usually have classic roast chicken and potatoes and ham and stuff like that, but there's something just special about kind of this English boarding school that has this amazing food all spread along the table. And whenever I've watched the movies, I'm just like, oh, put it in me mouth. Anyway. Annoyingly, he doesn't spot Regulus, so James has to remain curious for a while longer as he piles into the carriage with his friends. You alright there, Prongs? Sirius asks, running a hand through his hair to dislodge the drops of water clinging to it. He snaps the door closed and shrugs, feeling guilty for literally no reason. Starving. Remus shifts on his seat, looking out the window on his side of the carriage. Same, says Peter. That hat better not take too long. They murmur their general agreement as the carriage rolls on the cobblestones towards their school. The entrance hall is packed, and it smells faintly of rain because it's absolutely pouring, and even the short sprint up the stairs was enough to drench everyone. Sirius is shaking his head like a dog. James thinks this is funny, and Remus is trying and failing to tell him off without smiling. Peter is much more civilized about the whole thing and is using his wand to dry himself off. James is about to do the same when he finally catches a glimpse of Regulus Black. And well, shit. When did he grow up? James thinks he understands what Remus meant. Regulus is taller now, still shorter than James, but not someone to go unnoticed in a crowd. And he's filled up somehow. He's still lean, slim. Like he's not suddenly bulky or anything. And he doesn't look like he's been starved. Even his skin has a healthier colour. James is suddenly certain that he's done something to his hair too. It's shiny and falls quite beautifully over his face, weighed down by the rainwater. He's scowling at Barty Crouch, but Crouch doesn't seem to mind this. James understands because Regulus's scowl is actually quite pretty and... James! What? He blinks, shakes his head. Remembers he was staring at his best friend's brother. Sorry, what did you say? Sirius rolls his eyes again and cranes his neck to see what James was staring at. Evans, really? Again? James notices that Lily Evans has been standing with her friends next to Regulus and his little gang. He's so relieved he almost sighs out loud. Yeah, sorry, I was distracted. Sirius makes a small noise of appreciation and pulls James by his arm towards the Great Hall. You can ogle at the girls later. Now we want to eat. Come on. James has to stop himself from looking over his shoulder, which is silly. His curiosity is satisfied now. There's nothing else for him to look at. And that is the end of chapter 1. I really like where this is going so far. What I'm seeing grow, I guess, already is the relationship, obviously, between Remus and Sirius. We love some good background wolf star. Sorry, my dog is wants me to feed her, which I will do in a second, baby. So I love that. And then obviously we love some good jegulus. I can't not like it. It's going to be interesting how they scoot around Lily, because I'm always interested in how different writers do that. So that will be interesting to see. I guess for these readings, I'm hoping to bring one out once a week. So every Sunday I do work full time as a digital marketer. Build websites, do marketing stuff, but I'm also studying to be a nurse. So I'm a busy lady, but we're on semester break at the moment. So that's good. Thank you for anyone who has listened. If you want some more content, you can follow me on TikTok at Marley McKinnon Fan Club, because I am a fan of Marley McKinnon. And then also I am Marley McKinnon Fan Club on AO3 as well. I am writing a jegulus fanfic on there at the moment called The 5 Stages of Grief. Sorry for the self-promotion, can't help myself. But yeah, the idea of it is kind of exploring, I guess, Sirius and Regulus's brothership and friendship again after Regulus has tried to escape the Death Eaters and Voldemort and all that. So in this one, he doesn't actually go to the cave. It's more as what if he was able to actually get out and disappear, taking some inspo from taking a little bit of inspo from, what's the one I read recently? Whatever happened to young lovers, taking a bit of inspo from that. But yeah, I just wanted to work on my creativity and, see what I could come up with. So it is jegulus. Lily will not be in it. So if that's not your vibe, well, she will be in it, but I think I'm going to put her with possibly Pandora or something, or maybe Mary, because I do love a lesbian Lily Evans. There's something special about it. So definitely not canon, but definitely an exploration. And it allows me to do some research into the wizarding world, so I'm excited for that. Anyway, thank you for listening, and I will talk to you guys next Sunday. If you're interested in me doing live readings of some fanfics on Twitch, just let me know. Maybe comment on my TikTok. That's probably the best way to get in touch with me. Otherwise, I will see you guys next time. Thank you for listening.